Court win for ex-Telco staff. Fatality-free year for mining sector. Agriculture still delivering.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. Up to 400 ex-Telikom employees will now be paid outstanding tax components of their redundancy payments as per a national court decision in 2015. This comes after the Supreme Court dismissed Telecom's application for a review of the national court's decision on the grounds that it was an abuse of process. Telecom had already made an initial appeal on the same matter.
On Friday, the 13th of July, the court ruled in favor of close to 400 ex-employees of Telecom PNG across the country. Telecom PNG is now required to pay them a total of 12 million kina in overdue tax components. In 2011, after a restructure, over 300 Telecom employees became redundant. The National Executive Council, or NEC, made a decision approving the exemption of tax obligations on redundancy entitlements of Telecom staff.
Telecom did remit that tax and paid it to IRC. What they didn't do was that they were instructed to sit together with Treasury and IRC to come up with the instruments necessary for the tax exemption bill to be passed by Parliament.
However, despite the NEC decision, relevant redundancy repayments were not made.
And that is why we filed proceedings. And what the National Court has said is that Telecom must find that tax bit paid to IRC, find that same bit and pay all these people.
Former Telecom employees then filed proceedings of declaration in 2013, claiming Telecom's non-compliance with the NEC decision.
Telecom failed in its duty to ensure that that promise and that the decision by the NEC was complied with.
In 2015, the court ruled in favor of Telecom's ex-employees, finding that the company had acted in bad faith. It was this decision that Telecom initially appealed.
And that appeal was never prosecuted. And so the respondents filed a application to dismiss. And the full court of the Supreme Court dismissed the appeal.
After it was dismissed by the Supreme Court, Telecom then sought a review to which the respondents argued was an abuse of process.
On the basis that Telecom had already filed an appeal, which appeal was dismissed for want of prosecution.
Kamuta says going forward, his firm, Kamuta's lawyers, will be discussing with Telecom the remuneration of up to 400 ex-employees. These include families of those who had already passed away and ex-employees across all regions except Medang. Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
A landowner group in East New Britain Province are calling on the National Lands Department to address their outstanding land issue. The traditional landowners of Rabaul town are appealing yet again to the Lands and Physical Planning Minister, Justin Chichenko, to visit them and solve their issues. It is understood the ongoing land issues in and around Rabaul hinges on the Land Minister's visit and issuing of their land title documents.
The Tobebe, Tovaling and Ratagul ILG, the traditional landowners of Rabaul town, is one landowner group in East New Britain Province that has been so outspoken in the last 3 years, calling on the government to give them their land title, but they have been having difficulty convincing the national government to honor its commitment. Today, the chairman of the ILG has yet again appealed to the Lands Minister to visit them and give them what they have been asking for.
Based on the state land 99-year list, we really need that issue to be sorted out within the ILG Incorporated Land Group, which is the recognition where we give him a land-owning group.
East New Britain Province is slowly transforming into a tourism destination. Most of the tourism sites can be found in and around the volcanic town of Rabaul, but most of these sites are situated on customary land. Since last year, the ILG has been caught in numerous infighting between clans over who is the rightful custodian of the tourist sites. Numerous meetings organized by the group to make their presence known has turned out unsuccessful, despite its recognition as a registered ILG.
We kindly nami appeal law minister, please come East New Britain. So me can sit down, come up with some good strategic way forward based on that long petition where ILG even petitioning long 2015.
In recent years, successive PNG governments on one hand have been struggling to negotiate with landowners to free up customary land to meet the growing economic demands, while on the other hand it tries to meet the aspiration of landowners. The acquisition of land titles through customary land registration was introduced to allow traditional landowners to register their land to reduce risks of illegal land dealings and exploitations. While that has been the case, the Rabaul landowners say the government has yet to honor its commitments, and most of it hinges on the Lands Department and the minister responsible. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Not a single fatality was recorded in the country within the mining sector in the year 2017. This is according to the country's mining regulator, Mineral Resources Authority. The last time the country achieved this feat was in 2008. The zero fatality frequency rate was announced by the MRA, which it has labelled as a huge achievement for the country. According to the MRA, there were close to 7,500 employees in this sector who worked for a combined total of 52 million hours without a single fatality in the year 2017. These figures are an improvement from 2016, where there were just over 15,000 employees, a combined total of 44 million hours, and an unfortunate 2 fatalities. Furthermore, the serious injuries frequency rate also drastically decreased by almost 50%. According to MRA Acting Managing Director Nathan Mosusu, these sort of results are hardly seen within the mining industry. He has attributed these results to efforts by MRA and industry working tirelessly together towards reaching a common goal of zero harm to all persons employed at all mine sites in the country. MRA's mine inspectors have also been commended for their professionalism, hard work and commitment in protecting the lives of thousands of mine workers who contribute significantly to the country's economy each year. Local farmers in the Asaro Valley, Eastern Highlands Province now have access to agricultural information that will help improve their ways of farming. Today, they celebrated the opening of their new Farmer Resource Centre, launched in partnership with NARI and the European Union under the Rural Economic Development Forum. The aim of the centre is to support farmers with agricultural information to improve their income and livelihood.
This morning, locals in Ifeyufa, Eastern Highlands Province attended in numbers to witness the launch of the new Farmer Resource Centre. The launch was attended by officials from NARI, European Development Fund, the provincial government and business houses. Director General of the National Agricultural Research Institute, Dr. Seji Bang, said with the information provided, the resource centre is expected to improve the local farmers' income and livelihood.
We are bringing information and agricultural technologies to the people here, to the community, and so that there are issues in production, particularly for the 3 commodities we are promoting, the bulb onion, the sweet potato and the potato.
In 2016, NARI, in partnership with the European Union, started developing the centre under AU's Rural Economic Development Project. Local farmers were trained on improved ways to grow sweet potatoes, Irish potato, and also the bulb onion, which is new to the area.
These are the 3 commercial crops that most farmers in the highlands are going into agricultural commercialization in the Papua New Guinea highlands.
Today, the Resource Centre was officially opened by NARI's Director General Dr. Seji Bang, Program Director Roger Kara, and Provincial Planner Peter Gare.
One time this like sabe mi play NARI kami instalim lo mi play NARI this la program Resource Centre lo mi play dan bakal bersama NARI Centre again. So and
This resource center will act as a library for farmers, students and also the general public. This center is one of 10 others established in the Highlands region. It will serve farmers in the Asaro Valley.
So farmers from Dalo district, farmers from Ungai Bena, farmers from Goroka district will come and access information from this resource center. Yeah.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Goroka.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more of the day's stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. While the economy is going through some trying times, one local level government president is leading by example to venture into farming business to sustain his living. Imbongo LLG President Tapoli Natil recently displayed his harvest at the opening of a National Agriculture Research Institute at Walum Station in Southern Highlands Province. He is encouraging Papua New Guineans to make use of the land to earn easy money.
Imbongo LLG President Tapoli Natil is a leader during working days and a farmer after work and on weekends. One of the leading farmers in Southern Highlands Province, Natil looks after over 30 pigs, countless number of roosters and hens, which produces up to 100 eggs every week. Natil said after identifying that bulb onion has a market in PNG, he started growing them with other cash crops such as cauliflower, Chinese cabbage and wheat. He said he needs to lead by example so that people can follow.
Also, for me, like so him as a leader, I have to be on the ground to show everything that I can do. If they're Christian, I have to be a good Christian man. And on the ground, I have to work, use my hands to work, so that's an example to them. How they can get protein, they can get the vitamin, and that is a rich food on the ground, which is so fresh in Papua New Guinea.
Natil uses pig's waste as fertilizers on the crops and wheat as stock feed for the chickens and the pigs. He tried to farm rice, but weather did not allow it to grow. Nari representatives say bulb onion, potato and cacao are emerging crops in the market. Nari is focusing on training farmers to grow the 3 food crops to meet the market demand.
Rainfall is affecting growth and development blow, onion, even productivity blame. So soil am well drained, am raised, am good plan by allowing more this onion reform. This onion am form now, bulb am form now, and strong na am can stop long time.
Imbongo MP Pila Niningi encouraged his people to farm to sustain their living. Mr. Niningi said he is in dialogue with the fisheries minister to fund his electorate to grow fish. He urged his people to constantly produce supply to attract buyers.
And to supply it, and then we can look for market. Market is not a problem, we can look for it, but supply is a problem. You have to convince the supermarkets and big companies that you are the force, you can do it, you can supply it.
Meanwhile, Farmer Natil said local farmers need to coordinate well and farm cash crops to constantly supply the market. Bulb onions in supermarkets can cost 6 kina to 7 kina per kilo. As a local farmer, Natil is selling them for 2 kina and 3 kina at the local markets. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Manus Province is mourning the death of former MP James Pokasui, who passed on after a long illness at Lorengau Hospital on Friday. Late Pokasui was described as a visionary leader and served both Manus and the Defence Ministry during the Wing Ti Chan-led government. He is survived by widow Benjaminita, 8 children and 8 grandchildren.
Late James Pokasui was one of the elite leaders of Manus Province. He completed his primary and high school in Manus before enlisted into the Royal Australian Army. Late Pokasui worked up the ranks from 1972 to 1973 and was appointed as second lieutenant, then captain and major. He served the force for 13 years before leaving and entering politics in 1982. He served Manus people twice and became the defense minister in 1987. Pokasui was the youngest defense minister and the first ex-military officer to be appointed as defense minister. During his term, he secured funds for the PNG Defence Force Wharf at Lombroom and pushed for pay increase for ex-servicemen. After exiting politics, he was appointed as PNG's ambassador to Philippines in 1997 by then Prime Minister Sir Julius Chen. Former PNG Defence Force Commander Jerry Singirok, NCD Governor Powers Pakop and New Island Governor Sir Julius Chen are among the men who paid tribute to his passing. Late Captain and Ambassador Pokasiu will be laid to rest in his own village Boat tomorrow. Jack Lepave Jr., National EMTV News.
Governor General Grand Chief Sir Bob Darai will take 2 weeks of sick leave starting today. In a statement, Acting Official Secretary Bill Toraso said the Governor General has been ill and doctors have advised that he take time off to rest for full recovery. National Parliament Speaker Job Pomat has been advised and will assume the role of Acting Vice-Regal commencing this week. On an unrelated note, Parliament will resume tomorrow for the July session. This is Monday's news. We'll have more after these messages, including stories making headlines overseas. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, it is deja vu for France, waking up with a few happy hangovers, no doubt, but also a big cleanup after the huge party to celebrate the second World Cup win erupted in violence. More than 1 million joyous fans hit the streets of the capital, where jubilation turned to disorder. Rioters smashing and looting shops, lighting fires and clashing with police, who fired tear gas to disperse the crowds.
What started as celebrations soon became chaos. Supporters hurling bottles, Paris streets set alight. Emergency services even targeted.
We can hear shop windows being smashed. People are out there with bottles, throwing them at cars, attacking vans with equipment in them, stealing bikes.
Police try to regain control, but the violence intensifies as the night goes on. This man attacked by an angry mob with fireworks. Police deploying extra forces, water cannon and tear gas.
Gets into your eyes, it makes you want to sneeze. It is horrific stuff, but the ironic part is the celebrations are still going on at the same time. So you've got one half of the crowd rioting, the other half are absolutely celebrating their team's victory.
The stark contrast evident in these scenes just hours earlier. More than 1 million French fans pouring onto the Champs-Élysées. Victory was theirs. France beating Croatia 4-2, the highest scoring final since 1966. It was a match that had it all. An own goal.
And the French hit the front!
A penalty controversy. And protest action. 4 people dressed in police uniforms suspended play by storming the field. Russian feminist activist group Pussy Riot claiming responsibility. And as France closed in on their big win, even an embarrassing goalkeeping blunder couldn't rescue Croatia. The team, hailed as a rare symbol of multicultural France, French President Emmanuel Macron leading the cheers. 16 of its 23 players are from families who recently immigrated to France.
They are amazing. They managed to unite the nation, and for us it's just wonderful because now we can dream again.
But dreams of unity marred by this reality on the streets of Paris after hours of rioting. An ugly end to the showpiece event of the beautiful game.
And the first Football World Cup in Russia is being hailed a huge success. Concerns over security and infrastructure faded, replaced by smiles, warm welcomes and a party atmosphere. Here's how the tournament changed perceptions.
From the stunning stadiums to the street parties, hosts keen to shatter stereotypes and to surprise. We'd never seen this before. Kickabouts by the Kremlin, and from what foreign fans have been saying, World Cup Russia has done its image the world of good.
Everyone's so friendly, the streets are clean, everyone's been super friendly, well behaved.
A real eye-opener considering what you hear in the UK about Russian people. And
fair play to Putin. He's done a brilliant job of the World Cup.
From the players. It's no wonder President Putin is smiling. And just listen to the compliments when he invited footballing legends to tea in the Kremlin.
And this is one of the best World Cup what I saw in the last 40 years. Thank you, President. Thank you, Russia.
He's achieved his goal. Russia's World Cup is a public relations success. You won't see the Kremlin leader raising a golden trophy above his head. But make no mistake, the winner of this World Cup is Vladimir Putin. Remember, this is a man who stands accused of undermining Western institutions, of threatening the international order. And what did the world do about it? It came to Russia and lavished him with praise.
I think they're doing a fantastic job with the World Cup right now.
Praise, too, from Donald Trump. And tomorrow's summit in Helsinki is another success story for President Putin. For Russia, which is under Western sanctions, it's a diplomatic coup. The Kremlin scores again. Moscow senses it is outplaying its opponents. A successful World Cup has helped. Sport and politics playing side by side in Vladimir Putin's Russia.
On a European tour packed with diplomatic fireworks, the US president has just ignited some dynamite. US President Donald Trump will be meeting Russia's president tonight, just days after a dozen Russian spies were charged with hacking the US election. But in an extraordinary development, he said the European Union could be an even greater enemy.
It's a topsy-turvy world. President Trump arrived into Helsinki tonight, having given NATO and European Union allies a kicking. So in the Trump world view, who is friend and who is foe?
I think the European Union is a foe, what they do to us in trade. Now, you wouldn't think of the European Union, but they're a foe. Russia's a foe in certain respects. China's a foe economically, certainly. They're a foe. But that doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean anything. It means that they're competitors.
And that sort of language causes deep unease among US allies and some in his own administration. Only 2 days ago, 12 Russian spies were indicted for interfering in the 2016 presidential election. So would the president be asking for Vladimir Putin to agree their extradition?
Well, I might. I hadn't thought of that, but I'll be asking about it. But again, this was during the Obama administration. They were doing whatever it was during the Obama administration.
The Russian president isn't here yet. He's been detained by the small matter of a football match in Moscow. So was he ignorant about what his agents were up to? Almost certainly not, says the US president's national security advisor.
I find it hard to believe, but that's what one of the purposes of this meeting is, so the president can see eye to eye with President Putin and ask him about it.
Until now, Donald Trump has seemed remarkably resistant to hold Russia to account for its interference in the election. And given the choice between believing the united view of the US intelligence services that there was systematic interference and Vladimir Putin's word that there wasn't, Donald Trump, somewhat extraordinarily, seems to have sided with the Russian leader.
On 3 previous occasions, going right back to the Soviet era, Helsinki has played host to Russian-US summits. But in the past, there's been a very fixed agenda. This looks like it will be much more freewheeling. And that's leaving many in the West feeling distinctly queasy.
I thought 3, 4, maybe even 5 of the boys would die. That admission from the senior team members involved with the successful mission to rescue a football team and their coach from inside a Thai cave. But it's a spat between one of the divers and SpaceX entrepreneur Elon Musk that's dominating headlines.
News spread that 12 boys and their coach were stuck deep inside a Thai cave. World-class diving experts offered their help. Also stepping in, SpaceX founder Elon Musk. He built and delivered a one-person submarine, but the help was flatly declined. Asked what he thought of the idea, one of the rescue team was brutally dismissive.
And stick a submarine where it hurts. Just had absolutely no chance of working. Just a PR stunt.
The billionaire responded via Twitter, baselessly calling Vern Unsworth a pedo. The offending tweet has since been deleted, and Musk continues to defend his sub, but divers say the rigid capsule just wouldn't have worked.
Wouldn't have gone round corners or round around any obstacles.
Now the divers are revealing just how dangerous the mission was.
I was confident of getting the kid out. I wasn't 100% confident of getting him out alive, because if we bashed him against a rock too hard and it dislodged that mask and flooded his mask, he was a goner.
When I was flat out asked, what do you think the probability of success was, I told the governor I thought maybe a 60 or 70% chance. Maybe 3, 4, possibly 5 would die.
The success overwhelming for the rescuers.
Words cannot describe how happy we were. Yeah, honestly, it was not a result that we thought we would get.
The children and their coach are now regaining their strength in hospital and grateful for the extreme risks taken on their behalf.
Thank you so much.
The divers say the experience is something they'll never forget.
I've never done anything as risky as that, and I don't think I ever will again.
A 19-year-old man has appeared in a Perth court charged with the brutal murder of a New Zealand mum and 2 of her children. One police officer says it's the most horrific crime scene he's been to. The youngest victim was just 8 years old.
Murder in suburbia. A mother and her 2 children killed in their Perth home.
My mum and my brother and sister, they copped it. They had to suffer because the system failed them, and now we all suffer.
It's alleged that 19-year-old Tiankim Vernon Peterson Crofts called police to a 7-Eleven convenience store at 1:30 a.m. on Sunday and led them to the scene.
A senior homicide squad investigating officer said to me today that it is potentially the most horrific crime scene that he has ever been called to.
It's been described as a frenzied attack. A 48-year-old New Zealand woman and her 8-year-old son were found dead inside the house. In the backyard, her critically injured 15-year-old daughter, who died on the way to hospital.
Awesome kid. She was wicked, They were both of mum's babies. They were the babies of our family, And they were the most innocent ones in our family.
The 48-year-old victim moved to Perth in the 80s from New Zealand's east coast. One News has been told the 19-year-old male is related to the victims and this morning appeared to have a mental breakdown in court as he was charged with 3 counts of murder. The 48-year-old victim's daughter says the accused has schizophrenia and her mother had tried to get him help in New Zealand and Australia.
My mum was going to the hospital, she was going to the doctors, to the Mental Health Act, saying, what do I do? Who can help me? They're all identifying him, saying he is sick, but nobody can help.
Today, investigators combing the crime scene picked up a large pair of scissors. Neighbours said the accused had been yelling and waving a wooden pole outside just days before the killings.
I just heard a lot of screaming and yelling and a bit of fighting, and then, I don't know, a few moments later the cops flew past down there and headed up this way.
She just loved being a mum, and she was just wicked as a person.
A fundraising page has been set up for the mother's surviving 5 children, who are now all making their way to Perth.
Chicago police have released body cam footage of the moments leading up to them fatally shooting a man in a bid to try and calm things down after a night of rioting. They say it shows him reaching for a handgun, but his friends point out what it doesn't show is why that happened.
Chicago police body cam video shows 4 officers approaching 37-year-old Harriet Augustus Saturday. Within seconds, Augustus makes a run for it and reaches for his gun. He was shot moments later.
The community needs some answers, and they need them now.
The fatal shooting sparked a night of violent confrontations as protesters threw rocks and bottles and police fought back with batons.
They approached the subject, who became combative, and as he became combative, flailing away, he broke free from the officers, and what they thought he appeared to be reaching for a weapon.
Augustus died later at the hospital. Police recovered a handgun and 2 magazines at the scene. For a police department under fierce scrutiny over its policing in Black and Latino communities, this is the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks that a Chicago police officer shot someone.
Loss of life is loss of life. That's still a mother's child.
Residents described Augustus as a father who worked in a local barbershop and a friend to many.
He's not a drug dealer. He's not a gang member. He's not a documented gang member. He's not that. He worked to provide for his 5-year-old daughter, and his life was taken from him by Chicago Police Department last night.
Chicago police said they released the video quickly in an effort to prevent another night of violence. They are asking the public to stay calm as the investigation plays out.
Here with Monday's news. Well, it's already several hours old, but the World Cup has a winner. We take a look at all the excitement in Trukai Sports coming up next. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Own goals, great goals, penalties and pitch invasions. It was a match that had it all, and France have emerged the winners of the FIFA World Cup final in Moscow. A 4-2 win over Croatia gave France the second World Cup title, but the deciding match of Russia 2018 will go down as a final of firsts.
Are the champions of the world.
France number one again. 20 years after their maiden World Cup title, the class of 2018 made their own history on an historic afternoon in Moscow.
Flicked in by Griezmann and flicked on!
Croatia's Mario Mandzukic providing the final touch, the first own goal ever scored in a World Cup final. France's lead didn't last long.
Perisic, 1-1!
But Ivan Perisic would go from hero to zero in the space of minutes, in a moment of controversy the likes of which a World Cup final has never seen.
The French are screaming handball.
Replays showed why, the ball striking the hand of Perisic, prompting the first intervention of the video assistant referee in a final, leaving the man in the middle with a big call to make.
He's given a penalty.
The Croatian coach left fuming.
In a World Cup final, you do not give such a penalty.
France have their lead back. A goal of its age, of its generation.
A pitch invasion saw protest group Pussy Riot leave their mark on the final before the next generation of French talent made theirs. Paul Pogba got the party started before the young player of the tournament announced himself to the world.
Here's Mbappe! Oh my word!
19-year-old Kylian Mbappe, the first teenager to score in a World Cup final since Pelé in 1958, prompting this from the greatest of all time. If Kylian keeps equaling my records like this, I may have to dust my boots off again. There was still time for another memorable moment in Moscow.
Oh, Lloris was caught on it by Mandzukic!
French captain Hugo Lloris caught daydreaming about lifting the World Cup. He wouldn't have to wait much longer, Lloris following in the footsteps of Didier Deschamps, who with today's win becomes the first since Germany's Franz Beckenbauer to win the World Cup as a captain and a coach. The celebrations deserved after a final that will live long in the memory, capped a truly unforgettable tournament.
And as you can imagine, scenes of joy and ecstasy in the heart of Paris, a case of déjà vu. It was 20 years ago when they won the tournament for the first time on home terrain, triggering scenes of similar delirium, and these fans are well aware of the talent in this current French side.
Many hours before the start of the match, French fans were already queuing for the fan zone. The blazing sun did nothing to detract from the sense of excitement as France went into the final, the favourites.
We are exciting! Come on, France! It's coming!
Waving flags and chanting, 100,000 fans gathered at the foot of the Eiffel Tower to watch, pray and cheer. One of the most promising and popular squads France has fielded. But faced with a Croatian side remarkable for its strength, the mood was tense and then explosive with each of France's 4 goals. By the final whistle, the fans knew that 20 years on, the World Cup would finally be coming back to Paris, carried by a side as youthful as it is diverse.
And it is here to the Champs-Élysées that the cup will be brought and where the celebrations are already well underway. For those old enough to remember 1998 or for those too young to care, France is once again a country united around the victory of a side that represents the very best of it.
And Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Taekwondo PNG President John Cholai says championships in the lead-up to the Pacific Games will be organized to get athletes ready for 2019. He says in the meantime, the focus is for athletes to concentrate on their regional fixtures.
John Cholai says the recent Taekwondo tournament was to bring all Taekwondo fighters in the country together and to showcase their skills and knowledge of the sport.
We have a few events happening for which we are hosting these tournaments to basically get a gauge and appreciate the talents that are within the country. From the PNG Games that we had in Kimbe, and then after today, we want to see where you are at. We have got a Oceania President's Cup happening on the 3rd of August next month, and we would like to be able to send a few participants there, including 1 or 2 officials, and of course subject to some funding.
The event used as a stepping stone to other upcoming events. John says the Federation is currently organizing other tournaments, both national and regional events, to prepare the athletes for next year's Pacific Games.
But we also have, going forward, on the 7th of July this year, mark the 1 year, 365 days towards the Pacific Games. That's going to be in Samoa. So we have actually made a commitment to the PNG Olympic Committee that Taekwondo will bring in 4 gold medals. And we are going to train and we're going to prepare our people to be able to deliver this. Because our mission, Team PNG, for 2019 is to win on foreign soil.
Pacific and Olympic Games will be the target for Taekwondo PNG. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
A rest day on the Tour de France has come at just the right time for Dion Smith. The West Auckland cyclist was 3rd on the King of the Mountains classification, but was brought down in a day of crashes and has slumped to 108th.
The narrow cobblestone stretches were expected to prove the most treacherous on the 9th stage of the race from Arras to Roubaix. But when Spaniard Mikel Landa came down with just over 30 kilometres left, Dion Smith had his space tightened and nowhere to go.
He's drinking, he's hit a bump and gone down, one hand off the handle over the bottle.
All the attention was on Landa, who'd finished 4th in last year's Tour.
A big hope this year, Mikel Landa is on the deck.
But Smith came off worse, breaking his thumb, bruising his cheek and ribs and suffering cuts to his hands. However, the great race is over for Australian star Richie Porte. Incredibly, for the 2nd year running, he broke his collarbone on the stage.
Richie Porte's Tour de France is over.
Defending champion Chris Froome also came a cropper, forcing Tour leader Greg Van Avermaet to go bush to avoid him.
Greg Van Avermaet just escaping, going all the way around.
The Belgian was the big winner at the end of the sprint finish, 2nd place, helping him increase his lead to more than half a minute.
And to tennis, Novak Djokovic has won his first Grand Slam title in over 2 years. The Serb winning his 4th Wimbledon crown in quick fashion after seemingly taking forever to get there.
Novak Djokovic back at the top of the game.
There's no better place to celebrate a comeback, and for Novak Djokovic, Grand Slam glory never tasted so good.
I had a double portion this year to treat myself.
It was the Serb's first major final in almost 2 years, and he quickly marked his return to the big time.
How was that movement from Novak Djokovic?
Djokovic and South Africa's Kevin Anderson had already endured a combined total of 12 hours on court for their semi-finals, leaving the question of just who could go the distance. The tall timber made giant strides in his quest for a first Grand Slam title, setting up 5 set points in the 3rd, but Djokovic was too good. The straight sets victory all wrapped up in just under 3 hours.
A 4th Wimbledon title for the rejuvenating Serbian team.
A straightforward final, but it's been a lengthy battle back to the top for Djokovic. The struggles of form and injury saw him fall out of the top 20 earlier this year.
I had many moments of doubt and didn't know really if I could come back to the level to compete, so this is very, very special.
Now back to number 10 in the world after a 13th major title, this Wimbledon crown could spark another era of Djokovic dominance.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We'll go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. We begin in the southern region, Port Moresby and Kerma, rain and drizzle, cloudy periods expected in Daru and Alotau, cloudy at times for Popondetta. To the Momasa region, cloudy periods and rain expected in Lei and Wau, rain and drizzle for Madang, cloudy periods for Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, a few showers expected in Lorengau and Kavieng, showers and thunderstorms in Kokopo and Rabaul, some afternoon showers expected in Kimbe, rain and showers for Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen can expect some rain and drizzle over the next 24 hours, some rain expected as well for Goroka and Kundiawa, cloudy periods for Mendi and Wabeg. To a look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border, through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Hood Point to Samurai Island, to eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and to Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Straits, to Siasi Islands to Long Island. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Hood Point to Samurai Island, with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel, Finchafen, and waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Strait to CSE Islands to Long Island seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma to Yule Island seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Long Island to Madang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border seas 1.5 to 2 meters. And waters of Manus and its western group of islands, with waters of East New Britain to New Island, Bougainville, and with waters of West New Britain seas 1 to 1.5 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea seas rather rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. Solomon Sea seas moderate with southeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea seas slight to moderate with southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. And the Pacific Ocean seas slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, the people of Wampa local level government in the Huon Gulf district in Morobe will be using their new market starting tomorrow. The market was funded by a foreign business operating in the area at a cost of 75,000 kina. The market will replace the old market located near the Nadzap airport. It will serve the people of the 4 districts of Morobe province.
This is the new Nadzap market located in Gapsunkek in the Huon Gulf district of Morobe. It replaces this market here just before the Nadzap airport. The new market was funded by the owner of a foreign-owned company located in the same area at a cost of 75,000 kina. The new market was built within a month. The construction includes 2 toilets, shower room and water supply.
2016 mi kam lo here naja milululo o sem obra mage ino kubla la safe lo mama no megino mage also mi lo sin lo poke promise money me megino study no now new bla mage kilo panish safe lo mama megino inside sani lo kekai.
This area where the current market operates in is known for various criminal activities. Morobe's Provincial Police Commander Alex Drasal ordered a stop to the market today. He said everyone will be using the new market starting tomorrow. The PPC has called on the people of Wampar LLG to take ownership and maintain the current state of the new market. The market was officially opened today at Gapsunkek, Nadzap in Huon Gulf district. It was officiated by the PPC, Alex Drasal, the acting district administrator, Moses Wanga, and Nawai MP Kennedy Wenge, who stood in for the member for UN Gulf District, Ross Simo. The landowner Michael Maliaki thanked the investor for the initiative of the new market.
Mi praba kisim poris na poris tu become na stop na is the one thing plan na regular market too.
This market will serve the people of the 4 districts in Morobe, UN Gulf, Nawai, Makam and Bulolo district.
You mean it now, you mean on a blog, claiming one plan internal revenue because company mean putting one plan money inside lawyer. So me talk one plan unique market, initiative and business house you walk in, na Papa Crown and come inside now. The only internal revenue that we can pick up from is 1,000 kina annual rental where all by walking go along.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lay.
And that has been the news, sport and weather for today, Monday, the 16th of July, 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.